Hi guys, I've created this video to enhance your understanding pertaining to scale items. This video it will greatly assist my Management 314 students who are currently busy wrapping up their individual assignments, as well as many students out there who are developing scale items for their constructs or variables. Now let's get into the definition of scale items. These are individual statements or questions used to measure a particular construct or research variable. Um, in other words, we're trying to say what are the questions that will be used when you be asking your respondents about a particular type of phenomena or about a particular type of research variable that you are investigating. For instance, entrepreneurial intention or attitudes towards entrepreneurship, where you should have a list of questions or a list of statements that will be used to measure that particular variable. The purpose is to quantify subjective phenomena such as attitudes, beliefs, behaviors, perceptions. These are not only the variables that can be used. The main variables such as perceived ease of use, perceived usefulness, workplace spirituality, um, work alcoholism, the many variables that can be used, that can be quantified. um, So you'd need scale items, you'd need statements that will be used to measure each and every variable that you are having. The importance, essentially, for obtaining quantitative data in fields, right? This is the importance of scale items. For you to be able to collect qualitative data in various fields, um, here I've just mentioned fields within the discipline of economic and management sciences, such as business management, um, industrial psychology, marketing, as well as many more other fields. Now, for you to find scale item, it's either you'd adopt, you take the statements the way they are and you don't change anything, or you'd adapt them from previous authors or from previous studies. When you're adapting, you are modifying them so as to so that these statements will be within the context that you are investigating. So adopting and adapting scale items from previous authors, it is important for various reasons. Developing new scales can be a lengthy process. It's time consuming. Therefore, most scholars, they resort to adopt existing scales from previous authors. So this will be a very manageable and time efficient process whereby you just adopt or adapt skills from previous authors, right? There is so much beauty in making use of skills that have already undergone rigorous validation procedures, ensuring that their validity and as well as reliability. What it means is you are making use of skills that have been tested for validity and reliability. The Chromberg alpha, which is used to measure the reliability of a skull, has been determined. Same applies with composite reliability. It has already also been determined. So it's better to make use of, they say half a loaf is better than nothing. So it's better to make use of scale items that are valid as well as reliable. By adopting and adapting these scales, researchers can benefit from the psychometric properties already established by previous scholars or by previous studies. It means you're using a scale with items that have been validated or that have been determined when it comes to reliability concerns. Comparability is also another point to take note of. Using established scales, it enables comparability with previous research findings. This allows researchers to build upon existing knowledge and contribute to cumulative scientific understanding within the field. Another point to note has to do with theory building. Established scales are often grounded in theoretical frameworks. For example, the theory of planned behavior, where we'll be having a scale to measure attitudes, to measure behavioral intention, actual use of actual behavior. So, for example, subjective norms, perceived credibility, where that theory, for example, the theory of planned behavior, it will already be having scales. Researchers can then align their research with existing theories and contribute to theory development through empirical testing. Perhaps this established theory called the theory of planned behavior, it examined attitudes, right? And you also need to determine the attitudes of students towards the enrolling of a BCom honors degree at UWC. It means that you are using established scales that are often grounded in theoretical frameworks like attitudes, right? It means if you're having a positive attitude towards the enrollment or for you to study your BCom honors with UWC, then you are likely going to, your intention to join UWC will be stimulated. Besides these 4 points, we also have got cross-cultural research, ethical considerations, expertise, and wisdom. Right. So adopting skills that have been used in multiple research contexts can facilitate cross-cultural research. Researchers can examine similarities, differences in construct across different cultures, enhancing the generalizability of findings. Another important point to make has to do with ethical considerations. Utilizing established scales can also reduce ethical concerns related to plagiarism or unauthorized use of intellectual property. Proper citation and acknowledgement of the original authors are essential when adopting or adapting scale items. That is why for my management 3.1.4 students, I always get to emphasize the point of adding the source where the scale is coming from. Proper citation, proper acknowledgement of the source is really important for you to say this variable called attitude towards entrepreneurship was adopted from the works of so and so, and provide that full reference so that when we get to read your work, we'd see, okay, the scales that will be used to measure this variable are emanating from the works of another author. Another point is to do with expertise and wisdom. Established scales often reflect the expertise and wisdom of researchers who have spent considerable time and effort in developing them. By adopting these scales, researchers can benefit from the insights and knowledge embedded in the items. So you should master why we get to adapt or to adopt scales from previous authors, and always make special reference to all these points that I've been noting. Right, in total we've got 7 points that we've already noted. Now, students can obtain scale items from various sources. You can obtain scales from journal articles that get to include the development and the validation of new scale items, the journal articles, for example, the Journal of Consumer Behavior, the South African Journal of Industrial Psychology, um, South African Journal of Business Management, as well as European Journal of Management Studies, European Journal of Innovation Management. All these journals, they get to publish articles, and in those articles, that is where you'd get SCAR items, right? So students, they need to search like online databases such as, for example, Emerald Insight, where you get various Emerald journal articles. We've got Science Direct, where you can get a lot of Excel-based journal articles, uh, and Google Scholar for you to find relevant articles in their field of interest. Books can also be used to find SCAR items. Most, especially research methodology textbook, they include examples of SCAR items used to measure various research variables. Items from previous research. Students can look for textbooks in their university library or on online platforms such as Google Books to find SCAR items. Online repositories and databases. Several online repositories and databases provide access to validated scales and measures. For example, you want to measure attitudes towards entrepreneurship. So researchers, they often employ scales that assess an individual's beliefs, perceptions, and intentions relating to starting and running a business. We've got different examples of scale items commonly used to measure attitude towards entrepreneurship. For example, you'd get statements such as starting a business is a desirable career choice. Entrepreneurs contribute positively to society. And these questions, they can be measured on a 5-point Likert scale, where one would be strongly disagree, 2 it would be for disagree, 3 it would be for neutral, 4 for agree, then 5 for strongly agree. So these are scale items, examples of scale items that can be adopted to measure one's attitude towards entrepreneurship. So I've also added another, like the scale items for attitude towards entrepreneurship. On the right hand side, you'd see the various questions that will be used to measure attitudes towards entrepreneurship. I did not create this on my own. To adopt, I should just have added the author so that you'd see that these questions, they didn't emanate from like from my head. I had to adopt them from a previous study. Where exactly can I find scale items? This is a question that most of my students have been asking me to really get to point. Where exactly should they get to focus on for them to be able to find scale items? So many researchers, they typically include scale items in the methodology section. Usually that section is called measurement instrument development or questionnaire design, or they get to say measures, right? So this section is found in the methodology part of the research article. All most scholars, they prefer to add the scale items after the reference list, after the bibliography or the reference list. That is where they would put a scale for each and every variable. This placement ensures clarity and transparency in reporting the instruments used for data collection. By providing skill items in this section, authors offer readers insight into the specific measures employed to assess variables of interest. Such a practice, it enhances the reproducibility and rigor of the study, allowing fellow scholars to replicate. That is why we say to adopt or to adapt from previous scholars, or to build upon the research findings effectively. Additionally, presenting skill items in close proximity to the methodology facilitates comprehension for readers, enabling them to understand the operationalization of constructs and the methods employed for measurement. This practice aligns with the principles of good research reporting, promoting transparency, as well as accountability in scientific inquiry. So I hope you've noted the areas where you'd find scale items, the methodology section, and immediately after the reference, most authors they get to add the scale items that they've used just after the reference list. Right. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for paying attention to the areas that I've been emphasizing. Should you need further clarity, do not hesitate to send me an email. I will get to explain further on how to find scale items. Keep the ball rolling, explore, search on various platforms such as Google Scholar, Science Direct, Emerald Insight, EBSCOhost, many online databases that you can get to use to find articles. And on those articles, know where to find the scale items. That's all from me, and it's goodbye for now.